He's nobody's tonto. He is a man who speaks the truth. He's Abdul Bari Atwan, the editor-in-chief of Ra'i al-Yom, and he joins me now. Abdul Bari, as always, welcome to you. The proximate reason why I wanted to talk to you was I read your piece about the potential earthquake war that might be about to occur off the coast of Lebanon, where, as I understand it, Israel has illegally occupied Lebanese waters and begun drilling for gas there. The Lebanese state is too weak to do anything about it, but Hezbollah is anything but too weak, and Hezbollah have promised to do something about it. What happened next after you wrote that article?
George, it is a pleasure to be with you as usual. And you are saying the truth all the time, and you are facing the same problem, the blackout from here and there. But anyway, we will survive and we will resist. About a month ago, I was in Lebanon. George, Lebanon, and you know it very well, Beirut, it used to be the jewel of the crown of the Middle East. The situation is very depressing. People are really starving. 90% of the Lebanese people below the poverty line now. They are really searching on the rubbish bins and to find food to eat. There is no electricity, there is no water, there is no any kind of public service at all, no medicine, no hospital. You know, the country is really facing a very, very depressing situation. And while at the same time, they have, about $600 billion of, gas and oil under their water. And despite that, the Israeli are banning the companies from drilling for, in order to give those people some life, decent life. But it is a conspiracy. If you notice one thing, George, and I'm sure you are aware of it, the Palestinian who have their gas in Gaza, the Lebanese who have their oil and gas reserves and their water around Beirut and the south, and the Syrian also, they have a huge reserve of gas and oil. And all these three peoples are not allowed. They are starving. They are under sanction. They are really punished by the American and by the Israeli, and they are not allowed to drill for oil or for gas. This is the problem. Why? Simply because, they want to actually humiliate them, simply because they are resisting for their causes. You are not allowed to resist in this part of the world. You have to submit. You have to throw the towel, to say to the Israeli, what do you want? Okay, we'll be your servant. Whatever you like, we will do. Exactly what Abbas of the PLO did. He gave them everything, 80% of Palestine, historic Palestine. And look at him now. Nothing. He gained nothing. 30 years of negotiation. So I can see the situation is going to blow up. The situation is deteriorating. I believe the resistance in Lebanon, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, he threatened in his last speech that, either we drill for oil, gas, and for oil, field, or we will prevent you from drilling. It is our land. It is our water. You are occupying it. And so we are not going to give up anymore. So I expect a huge problem is coming. I expect a war is coming because the Lebanese people decided to die actually by resisting the occupation, neither to die because of poverty and because of famine.
So the promises, and you can call them threats, but in Nasrallah's case, I think we can say they are promises. When he promises to do something, he always does it. Unlike some Arab leaders, he doesn't make idle threats or hollow promises. When he makes a promise, he usually keeps it. So what exactly did he promise? And when is he likely, do you think, to keep it?
George, when you see your people starving to death, when you see there is no medicine, when you see there is no petrol to fill your car, when you see your currency is, losing about 97% of its value, when you cannot actually bring milk to your children, what do you expect him to do? This is the problem. A situation is seriously very, very depressing. All people are begging in the streets, to be honest. I was there. I was so depressed to see the situation. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, he is a man who respects his word. He is a man who can take the decision of war, who can, press the button. He doesn't hesitate. And the Israeli know that very well. They know when he promised to launch a war, when he promised to actually attack these drills in the Lebanese water, or at least the disputed water, he will do it. So personally, I did listen to this speech. It was actually on picture, on television. So I can see this man very relaxed. It seems he took the decision. When he is going to send the first missile to hit the Israeli rigs, I don't know, but it could be any minute. It could be tonight, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, but I can see the war is coming. This man, when he says something, he actually do. He deliver. He fought the Israeli in 2000 and he kicked them out of South Lebanon, liberated South Lebanon. In 2006, he fought a war with the Israelis and he defeated them. Now it is the time, to be honest, that he will actually liberate his oil fields, his gas reserve on the seashore of Lebanon.
Now, of course, Israel has been upping the ante for the last weeks and months. For example, destroying the airport in Damascus, something which went almost unreported in the Western world. I mean, imagine if the Russian Air Force had destroyed the Polish national airport. How big a story that would be. And then think that Israel destroyed the international airport in Damascus, marking a new line crossed by them. Russia has warned Israel to stop these reckless attacks on Syria. It seems that the Israelis are spoiling for a fight. So this could be a wider regional war.
George, thank you for saying it. Imagine the Israeli are bombing, an international airport, a civilian airport, and actually putting it out of service completely. So if this happened anywhere in the world, you will see condemnation, especially the free world, who are talking about freedom, who are talking about human rights, who are talking about free trades, nothing at all, as if, they are hitting an airport in the other planet, So this is the problem which we are facing. The Syrians are under sanction for the last 11 years. They cannot actually have their own oil. They cannot import anything. And they are completely besieged by Israel and by the West. There are about 350 attacks against Syrian target, civilian target inside Syria, in the depth of Syria. And, the Syrians are hoping that their Arab brothers will help them, no help at all. They're hoping that, their Russian allies who have, military bases on the Syrian territories, they never said to their Israeli friend, stop it, enough is enough. You are humiliating us. You are humiliating Russia. Russia is the closest ally of Syria, and the Syria is the closest ally of Russia. And despite that, the Russian is doing nothing. Okay, you are a superpower. You are our friend, Syrian friend. You have military bases and air bases in Syria. Why don't you protect your ally? Syrian facing all these problems because they prevented a gas pipeline of Qatar to pass through the Syrian territories in order not to compete, not actually to derail the Russian gas to Europe. And despite that, the Russians are not okay. Yes, they helped the Syrian to defeat so-called terrorists and to try to keep the unity of the Syrian territory. But this is not enough. Why, when it comes to the Israeli, the Russians do nothing, absolutely nothing. And even there are reports in the Israeli media saying that the Israeli coordinate their attacks with the Russian before actually they send their missiles or warplanes to bomb Syrian target, whether the airport or whether cities, whether the other saying civilian targets. So this is the problem. And now I'm telling you, George, there is a huge frustration among the Arab people. I'm not talking about the Arab government when it comes to Russia. They are saying why the Russians are doing this. We are supporting the Russian. We are not actually, send our oil or our gas in order to help Europe to defeat the Russian, to actually to stop or to compensate the Russian oil or the Russian gas. Why the Russians are not helping their friends? Why, when it comes to the Israeli, they don't interfere at all? And even they coordinate with the Israeli. They bombed Latakia, which is actually very close to Hemimim, the Russian air base in Syria. And they were about, and once actually they shot down a Russian spy airplane. So why the Russians are not moving? Why only condemnation, and then a week later or a few days later, the Israeli warplane, the Israeli missiles hit Syria? Today they hit actually Damascus airport. Tomorrow they will hit the presidential palace of Bashar al-Assad, the major or the most supportive of the Russian in Ukraine and also in other parts of the world.
Well, Russia has a complicated relationship with Israel right from the beginning, of course. Stalin was the first leader in the world to recognize Israel. Czechoslovakia, then in the Soviet camp, was the source of the weapons for the Haganah, the Israeli armed forces that fought the Arabs in the so-called War of Independence, and so on. I wonder, though, if we may be reaching the end of Russian strategic patience. I did see, after the attack on the international airport, a new note in the voices of the Russian spokespeople. Maybe they have reached their limits.
Well, I hope you are right, George, because honestly, it is now 5 years and these bombing continue on Syrian targets. And the Russian only condemned this. They recall the Israeli ambassador in Moscow and they complain and they protest saying that you should not bomb a civilian airport, but nothing after that. I bet you maybe in a few days' time, the Israeli missiles will hit other places, other targets inside Syria. What amazed me, George, I used to be the darling of the Russia Today, English and Arabic, the darling. The British banned me, the Canadian banned me, the American CNN also banned me simply because I'm saying the truth like you, George. Now, Russia Today, I don't appear in Russia Today, while at the same time I understand that the American actually create this problem in Ukraine. That's, the American actually used the Ukrainian president as a tool in order to, incite the Russian to invade Ukraine. This is the problem. Despite that, imagine that. They don't come to me at all, which, thank God, I don't need it. I am everywhere in the social media. But imagine that. This is Russia. We are the left. We are accused of taking the Russian side. So it seems the Israeli influence inside Moscow, inside the Russian media is very strong. Very, very, very strong. Okay, ban Abdel Bari Atwan. They banned Abdel Bari Atwan. Abdel Bari Atwan doesn't appear anymore in Russia Today. They used to have a camera in my office every day. So why they changed their mind? I believe it is the Israeli domination of the Russian media, the Western media, and people like us. They don't have any platform in order to say the truth. Where is the freedom of expression? Okay, there is no freedom of expression in Russia. We understand that. It is and still now they consider it a communist country. But where is the freedom of expression in the BBC, in Sky News, in ITV, on Channel 4, and even Great Britain, the new one channel? Once they asked me, and then suddenly 2 hours before the program, say, Mr. Atwan, thank you very much. Even a channel which is brand new, immediately. So, George, I am really frustrated. When we came to this country, there was a freedom of expression. There was a proper democracy, proper human rights, a proper, actually, civilization. Now, to be honest, I'm really feel sorry for the Western world, which used to say freedom of expression is the jewel of our crown. There is no freedom of expression. People now are going to the social media, and I believe this is really very sadness, to be honest. Very sad to see the freedom of expression disappearing completely. They even intervened to prevent my channel on YouTube, and they actually canceled all the advertisement which used to help me, to help my family to survive. So imagine, they're even following us on the social media. They closed my account on the Facebook. I don't know. They never give me any explanation. This is the second account they closed it. So I stopped using it. So where shall we go? Where shall we talk? Where shall we express our views? I am a refugee. I was born in a refugee camp. I am really suffering. I really passed through a very difficult time. My family actually starved in most of our life. Then despite that, we are not allowed to express our feeling, to express our resentment, to express our suffering on the media, British media in particular. And who is responsible for my cause? Who actually responsible? Who established the Israeli state on account of my own people, on my own as a Palestinian, and kicked us out of our cities, our villages, our towns? And despite that, I am not allowed the British media to say the Israeli are occupying my land. I am not allowed to say that the Israeli are killing my people in Gaza, my brothers, my sisters, my fellows, my friends. This is the problem. Where shall I go and talk about my miserable situation? Where shall I go and talk about the situation of my people, where people are killed in the streets without any actually, without being even a resistant, without being carrying a gun or even a knife or even a stone? Even now, with many people were killed who were passing in the streets by the Israeli army. So the problem is, when you talk to them, say, no, thank you. You are supporting, radical. Radical what? People are defending their land. There are people. We believe the West when we went to talk to the Israeli. We have been talking to the Israeli for 30 years. What's the outcome? It's about 800,000 settlers in the West Bank and Jerusalem. Even now, they are storming Jerusalem between now and then, and they want actually to occupy the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which actually a holy place for 2 billion Muslims all over the world.
Abdul Bari, you're always welcome here. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the mother of all talk shows. A very powerful discourse